Well, hello. Yeah, I'm Spike of Alison Statton Spike and Weekend. But the story of how we all met is something maybe, I don't know whether it's even been properly documented, but what happened was in 1978, my friends and I started a DIY record company. Record company, that's quite a glorious title. It was a bunch of teenagers from the valleys. We got some help from security police and rough trade, and we made a record. And then we decided to move to Cardiff. So we had a record in our hand, and then we decided the name of the band would be Reptile Ranch. So we made a record, then named the band Reptile Ranch. And then we booked our first gig. And that was in a place called Grassroots in Cardiff. It was like the only place where punks, not that we weren't punks, but they thought we were punks because we wore different clothes and had a different attitude. So we were regarded as punks, therefore dangerous. And there was nowhere for us to play. It's like we didn't fit into the norms. So it's like, well, we have to find our own venues. And Grassroots was like a youth club, and it was the only thing that was really open to us. So Reptile Ranch did their first gig in Grassroots, and then 2 weeks later, to our horror, a three-piece band without a drummer, that was our band, was a three-piece band without a drummer, are playing the same venue, and they're more interesting than us. Fuck's sake. So, yeah, it was pretty depressing. So the Young Marble Giants, so I'm basically one of the first Young Marble Giants fans, have been ever since. We persuaded the teenage boys, persuaded Young Marble Giants to actually join us in a compilation album, which is called Is the War Over? And that was the first vinyl release of the Young Marble Giants material. That immediately led to Jeff Travis and Rough Trade hearing those tracks and going exactly as we did. Whoa, hang on, who are these guys? This is like, we've never heard anything like this. Immediately signed the Young Marble Giants to Rough Trade, and the rest, as they say, is history. So that's how they got onto Rough Trade. I'm not going to say anything about the Young Marble Giants because you probably know as much about the Young Marble Giants as I do, to be honest. What happened was about 18 months later, the Young Marble Giants split up. And the opportunist that I am, I'd already spoken to Alison about maybe we should work together. But we started writing some songs. A lot of them started from Alison's bass lines, and some of those songs ended up as weekend songs on the album, some of the best songs actually on the album. And at that time, one of the first things we wrote was this one. You know what? My mobile phone is in my pocket. It's really, really pissing me off. Right. That's going to need to be a lot closer than that, my friend. Right, here we go.
Confirm with the deepest fears, and through the eyes blurred with tears. Was there nothing you could say? All that you could do was play a drum beat for baby. Caterpillar cabs on the rails, loaded with brand new cars for sale. Returning home past the trailers again, they were empty as well by then. Self-inflicted confines. Can it be summed up in so few lines? Look at things in a different way. Things I despise that weren't there anyway. Returning home past the trailers again, they were empty as well by then. Gracias. Hola. So, yeah, so I can see the room that we first played around with and where that song formed, and it seems like a long, long time ago. We're going to talk quite a bit about the past, all of us, but first of all, I'd just like to dip for 2 seconds, well, maybe more than 2, into the present, just in that it's just fantastic to see that there's a festival like this in a venue like this running, run by wonderful people. So because we might not get a chance at the end, I want to say a big thank you to Kiko and Mickey and Clara and Ellie and all of the team here, all the sound people, because often we kind of come off the stage and people have been so kind and they've put so much preparation in and we don't get the opportunity to say thank you. So I'd like to say thank you now before the opportunity gets lost. And it is wonderful to see the music that's going on. It was great. We missed the last 5 minutes of John's talk, but that was a fascinating kind of journey as well. I hope you were all here for that. Yeah, I'm kind of, in some ways, I'm more interested in the present and what's going on and kind of what's about to happen. But let's go back to the past. So Drumbeat for Baby was written, I actually kind of started to write that while Young Marble Giants were still going, and it was before we went on tour to or around about going on tour to the States. And it was kind of, I started writing as something, as a, you know, it was a transition point after we all decided to kind of go our separate ways. And I was not very clear about where I was going, but I just knew I wanted to still write and still have that reflection time, not knowing what I wanted to do with it. And Spike was, you know, he was...
Pestering you?
No, you weren't pestering me. Spike was a really kind of supportive base for me to start exploring my writing. And at the same time, I also felt like I'd lived in Cardiff in South Wales all of my life. And at this point in time, I'd given up my job. Young Marble Giants weren't in existence. And it was just a chance also to kind of go somewhere else. And a friend of mine who I'd known in school, and we'd been in bands together, she'd moved to London. So I decided to go up and visit her, and she asked me to do some singing on a demo that they were putting together. Her and actually her partner was in the band called True Wheel, who Stuart was in that band when Louise and I first met them and joined as backing singers. So I went up to visit, and I'd also had Simon Emerson contact me, who was the third kind of key member of Weekend. And he was also interested in doing some work. So we ended up, whether Spike wanted to or not really, kind of me moving to London and Spike commuting back and forth, and us having this kind of fusion band, because we were coming from somewhere very different. And Simon's bass was very much a jazz at that present time. That was the music he was into. And that took us on a whole other journey, which, it was a bit like getting on a bus and going to a party, and you don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't really know where the party is or what it's going to be. But it was quite a fun journey in that we met so many wonderful musicians in terms of the Weekend members. So although it was a core of 3, it was very much all the musicians were so important in that group, and kind of all came from rich and very diverse backgrounds, really. So yeah, that's just to kind of take you up to speed as to where Weekend formed. And I don't know, maybe Stuart, I can pass things on to you for a little while, because I could take us way off key. So, Stuart, in the meantime, was very busy with, he's always writing. He's one of the most prolific writers that I know. He's got, I don't know how many songs he's got in his catalogue, and they're all brilliant. And Stuart started on the venture with the Gist at this point. So I'd like Stuart to remind us a little bit about that history.
Thank you, Alison. Yeah. After seeing John Savage's really great, engaging, interesting talk earlier on, it suddenly occurred to me that what we're doing now is post-punk.
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 Because that's a really convenient handle, because actually, and also your story parallels mine. I didn't realise that, in that you didn't really know what we were going to do next. So I think with the Young Marble Giants, we had an incredibly safe formula, and so it was leaving that and trying to do something else was very difficult indeed. But anyway, I'm going to go back even further. Sort of this whole gig has been quite amorphous, so we didn't really know what was going to happen, how it was going to work. And I thought, well, I'll do a sort of chronological thing. So I'm going back to, I think it was probably 75 or 76. And I've been writing songs with an acoustic guitar, and the music and the melodies had some good stuff about them, but the lyrics were just dreadful. I didn't have anything to, I hadn't found my way of writing. And I've only just recently realized that the Young Marble Giants, for me as a songwriter, was the first time that I had to focus my songwriting, and it massively helped me. And it kind of made me the songwriter that I've been since then. So, I've literally just been looking into I have a file called Old and Other Remotely Interesting Songs, which never gets looked at, and I was looking at it the other day for this gig, and there's one song in the probably 100 songs in there which I thought was worth doing, and it's called very, very pretentiously Untitled Number 2. And in the days when I could hardly play a chord, I played for minor sevenths. Let's see if I can mess it up now. Sunburn digits on 6 silver strings, familiar feelings in so many things. Don't ever ask me what else it brings. I cry when I'm happy, I'm glad when I sing. Don't ever ask me what else it brings. I cry when I'm happy, I'm glad when I sing. Thank you. So yeah, just to go back to where you left off, that's really fascinating. I didn't know you wrote that song while we were doing our thing, because I thought of the gist while we were writing the Young Marble Giant stuff in 1979. And I even mocked up an imaginary 7-inch single cover. And I kind of put everything in place to do this project. And then the group ceased trading. And Jeff Travis at Rough Trade had said, yeah, great, green light, you can do that project, that's cool. I had a really serious motorcycle accident and ended up living in a part of the country I didn't know anyone at all really there. And while I was in the hospital after the accident, the squat I'd been living in London was evicted. So it was a bit of a tough time, really. I was on crutches for a year. And, but I had this recording equipment, which my friend Phil Legg of Essential Logic fame had flogged me. And I wanted to make music, and I had a record deal with Rough Trade, and I had money from Young Marble Giants, and I had nothing else to do apart from take drugs, obviously. So I had to do this thing. I had to do something, I had to, because making music is like a life raft, a lot of the time for me. And so the gist began as me finding out how to use multi-track recording with a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And it was basically just experimental. So the album that came out of that, which was Embrace the Herd, was really just a series of just stuff that I was doing. I remember I sent Spike a cassette of it, and you were very positive about it, which really helped.
The men with green dicks on it.
That was the cassette with the men with green erections, in fact, yeah.
I was very impressed.
The music was rubbish, but the cover was good anyway. Come on, Spike, give us a tune then. They're going to play my favourite one now. I love this.
Are we? All right, okay. So, you might have noticed the last song that I played very badly, I do apologise for that, was somewhat influenced by the Young Marble Giants. But it was actually the only thing that Weekend recorded that was remotely connected with Young Marble Giants and that sound. And I think we took a lot of people by surprise because at the time, that's how old we are. Every record in every store was in a slot. It had to fit into the folk slot, the jazz slot, the country and western slot. It was like this, regimented. So if you didn't fit into that slot, it's like, well, where are we going to put your record in the store? And there was such a monopoly among the major labels and the outlets at that time, controlling like everything from the record price to who gets sold and who doesn't get sold. And so when we started producing the Weekend material, it's like, oh well, it's all very nice, but where's it going to go? Where does it actually fit in the shop? There's no Weekend slot. So
and that's the essence of post-punk, isn't it? Really?
I think so. I think
throwing things together.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what we were doing, like musically, obviously it was a huge leap for Alison. Well, it's immense bravery to take this huge leap from Young Marble Giants with this very, very specific sound and atmosphere into the unknown. And even when we went to the studio to record the album, well, maybe we weren't aware of it until Robin Miller, the producer, said, you realise we're 5 minutes short on this album. We didn't have enough material actually to finish the album, and we had to improvise a song, and this very nice African kind of instrumental that sort of made the album long enough. But yeah, I think the diversity of that album, people were making, and obviously we were massively flattered by this, but the only thing people were comparing it to at that time was the Velvet Underground, the Andy Warhol album, which has got so many diverse pieces that could be seen not to fit together. And it was quite radical. And we had some very dark elements in what we were doing as well. And of course, John Cale's a Welshman playing a viola. So that was what I was doing. Rough Trade forced me to play the viola because they said the violin is not cool enough. It's like, I can't even play the viola. But anyway, I did, very badly. It's a very bad viola, actually. But anyway, So we went from weekend. We did write a tune for a demo, which everybody who's heard this tune has said, how can Rough Trade say no to that? It's a really beautiful song. We're not going to play that one. We're going to play another one, which you may hear. There's another influence in here that you probably... This is unambiguous in terms of, yeah, I'm influenced by Stuart Moxham's sound and making references. I mean, we've done it to each other. I've even had Stuart playing guitar parts on songs that I've written that are really... I'm trying to copy Stuart Moxham, and he's come to the studio. He's playing my guitar parts, copying Stuart Moxham, and that's quite weird. Quite weird. But we've done that, and it kind of works. Anyway, this one we wrote sometime in the 90s. Anything you want to say about this, Alison?
No, it's called Mr. Morgan.
It reminds me of Penny Lane.
Oh, it's much better than that.
Oh, I know.
Fucking hell. Can't remember what key it's in.
Mr. Morgan, it's called.
Mr. Morgan on his way, putting on another day. Leave the secret world of light on his pillow till tonight. What is in his mind today? What will meet him on his way? Will it rain or will it shine? Will he get to work on time? What if anything is new? What will this day lead him through? Will he stop or will he follow? Will he understand tomorrow? Passers by upon the street, he doesn't see beyond their feet. Doesn't expect the unexpected, and very often doesn't get it. Feels so timid but he's so bold, confident that all will hold within the boundaries of his mind, within his senses and sense of time. Life is not quite all it seems, dipping in and out of conscious streams. What Mr. Morgan can convey very rarely gets displayed. Dark grey suit and worn brown shoes, freshly printed morning news, unobtrusive in every way, slipping quietly through the day.
And there you go. So, again, Harry Beckett moment.
So, yeah, one little thing, because we'll bring Phil into this because he's the absent member of Young Marble Giants, and that character was actually written around for I think about 6 weeks. Phil had a job in a printer's as an assistant, which didn't really fit. I think his first day he got snowed in Porthcawl, which isn't very far away from Cardiff. It's a seaside town. The rock pools froze over, and roads were closed. I think Phil had really willed that because he didn't want to start this job. But Mr. Morgan was based on a character that he worked with, who I never met, but kind of I got this sense of. So it's connected to Phil and Young Marble Giants in some way. Stuart.
Yeah, so then the Young Marble Giants came along, and it happened very organically. And after True Wheel, there was a flirtation with this sort of punk band who were incredibly minor. I can't even remember what they're called now. They'd seen the Sex Pistols at Caerphilly, and they had a record deal in London. I think they might have made a single or something. But anyway, so we sort of hooked up with them, but it didn't work out. It actually nearly ended in a fight, I seem to remember. I nearly clocked the
Everything
singer.
into a fight in Cardiff.
Yeah. So then I thought, well, hang on a minute, I might write songs, you know, so Phil plays the bass, you know, Alison can sing, we should just do something together. And so one of my favourites that we did is this one.
It's nice to hear you're having a good time, but it still hurts 'cause you used to be mine. This doesn't mean that I possessed you. You're haunting me because I let you. Shape up your body, let's be a tree. Visual dynamics for you to see. Nature intended be abstract for you and me. No rain outside, but tears in my eyes. Out on the rooftop for a surprise. Call you at tea time in off the street. Sit down at table, mummy's knees. Thanks so much.
There's a lot of people talk about the lyrics of the Young Marble Giants songs and a certain sort of opaqueness in meaning. But that song, a lot of that song is actually, it's just about, it's nostalgia about being a kid in Cardiff, you know, living on the street, playing football, you know, staying out all day, getting on your bike, riding off until it's dark, you know, avoiding the paedophiles. Because you knew who they were, right? Squeak, that's his name. Don't go near there. And then avoiding the bullies who beat you up.
In the valleys, we used to get beaten up all the time. My band, Reptile Ranch, we were called punks because we wore like straight trousers. Weren't like, if we didn't have like a denim jacket, you know, like your status quo kind of denim jacket, denim jeans, you know, and cowboy boots, it's like basically you got beaten up by the rugby boys. I mean, I'm serious. They used to chase us down the road just for fun.
Some people would pay for that.
Well, Phil John paid for it because he didn't run fast enough, mate. Got a right kicking. It was quite brutal times. I mean, we at the end of weekend, things really fundamentally changed in the UK for me anyway, because We come from South Wales. Cardiff is basically built on coal. Everything in Cardiff comes from the coal from the valleys and the blood of Welsh miners. So people like me, where I have miners in my family, we get like really passionate when we start talking about the miners' strike. So really, I'm sure I shouldn't really talk about it at all because I get really angry. But the years between 1984 and 1985 were really a big turning point in terms of, how I felt about stuff. We had a year-long miners' strike where the government basically stopped the miners eating for a year. So we had to form organisations and bands. Alison and I were both in a band called Bomb and Dagger, actually, at the early years, like in 1984. What a year. And we basically formed that band to raise money for the miners so they could eat. Because the government took their money, they stopped the unions using the money to feed the families, and so it was like, we raise the money for the miners or they starve. So anyway, that's a little bit of context about like the valleys we come from and Cardiff's history. It's where are we now? Brexit. Hey, what fun. We're not looking forward to that. We did enjoy coming through the European citizens thing when we came to Barcelona. That was nice. Maybe the last time. But what a disaster. Okay, that's enough politics. Carry on. Somebody say something.
Well, okay, I'll break the sequence in that case.
Good man.
So after the Unbeatable Giants and after Embrace the Herd, I moved back to Cardiff, and my youngest brother, Andrew, who was the drummer for the Unbeatable Giants in our second incarnation, basically got a house in Adamsdown, which is an area which used to be quite posh, quite wealthy, or parts of it were, and no longer is. Degentrified. And anyway, so this is one of the songs I wrote there, and I play it quite a lot when I do solo stuff because my friend Louis Philippe really likes it. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll do that. And it's a wry take on the life of a musician.
Beyond my own expenses lies the land of milk and honey. Outside my own defenses, I am funny. Where life is like a circus, full of scares and thrills and worry, but you know it's all rehearsed to earn your money. And back again to all those cares, familiar now as bedtime stares, the latest horrors put to sleep. Good night to sailors on the deep. Before me is a partner who'll be just like a glove to keep me warm in winter and in love. I know the day is coming for the sun to shine again. When it does, you'll find me running for the pen. So here's the answer to your prayer. Can you be happy without fear? Before I leave this island, I will dig up all my treasure and leave it for you freely without measure. Because the gift of music is greater than the pleasure in finding golden pennies, or so it says here. And back again to all those cares, familiar now as bedtime stares, the latest little horrors put to sleep. Good night to sailors on the deep.
Thank you.
Good work. Really? Oh, there's a surprise.
Okay,
Didn't think we were doing this song.
okay. We're going to throw something in that we thought maybe we weren't. So let's give it a go.
They seem like nice people. We can try.
It's one of my favourite albums, actually, this. It's an album you can play on many occasions. Parties, christenings. I do.
Suicide parties. Yeah, no.
My
not
life's a
that one.
constant party. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay. Well, this one, the reason this song is really interesting is because we presented this assuming Alison Statton having been, for Rough Trade, like the most successful vocalist, full stop. I know they had bands that were bigger in terms of bigger profile, but Young Marble Giants and Weekend were the two biggest earners on the Rough Trade label before it went bankrupt and owing us a lot of money, apparently. Before it went bankrupt and became bought out time and time and time again. So we thought, well, you know, Alison's the most successful singer on the label. We can do anything we like for a demo, and they're just going to say yes. Oh dear, that didn't happen, did it? But this is the song that we gave to them and said, well, this is what we want to do. I hope I did play the last two really badly, so this probably won't end well. Okay.
Pleased to see you, still receive you loud and clear. Vision falters and we've altered through the years. It's good to know the empathy of love still yields. I want to dance all night to keep the tidal blues at bay. For in the dark the impact will just fade away. It's high tide and all the debris disappeared. But how long can we keep the beaches cleared? Just for a while this precious moment makes me gently sway. Just for a while before the cruel light of day. Cannot fix my gaze upon your eyes for any time, for I'm afraid of what you'll hear from mine. I'll hide this long and evasive mind. I want to dance all night to keep the tidal blues at bay, for in the dark the impact will just fade away. Just for a while this precious moment makes me gently sway, just for a while before the cruel light of day.
Thank you. Running out of time now. Running out of time, mate.
Okay, I'm going to go to my lucky number 7. So still keeping a little bit chronological. Yeah, after Rough Trade, you know, sacked everybody and signed the Smiths. Great band, love the Smiths, right? Fair dues. Varieté, as they say in Wales. Yeah, so nothing happened for about 10 years, and I met John Henderson. And one of the things I did was an album called Cars in the Grass.
Which you recorded in my attic.
Which I recorded in Spike's attic with Phil and Andrew Moxham, who's my ideal band, really, in a way. And
pretty good.
So this is the title track, and it's actually about Tonopandi, which is up in the Welsh valleys, when my Uncle David was a policeman. And in those days, you know, when I was a kid, you'd go up there, and it was like a tip. Well, it was literally a tip, but it was also a scrap heap, and this beautiful green valley would have like cars just abandoned in the rivers and stuff like that. So Cars in the Grass, and it's obviously influenced by the Velvet Underground.
From a heart in a room comes a voice with a tune full of hope from the south to your heart, mouth to mouth. Killing time, moving air, the vibrations that care, anytime, anywhere, as you sit and you stare. Sitting down, lying down, in your head, going around, same old thoughts that you've had. Am I good? Am I bad? And the day rumbles on the streets of your town, without you and your dream, which you keep like the gleam in the eye of a doll that you find on a stroll through what's left of your past, through the cars in the grass. See where youth has got you, still around, still a fool, but alive to a point. the end of your joint.
Thank you.
I don't know what, we haven't got time. Are we going to do this one?
Yeah, let's do that.
That's it. We're out of time. We're nearly out of time. Yeah, we are. We had a really nice song from our new album to offer you, but instead we're going to offer you something that'll make you much happier. Is that right, Stuart? I'd offer you mine, but I'm using it.
I've gone away from shark fins onto ultra thin these days.
Oh, that's all the rage, isn't it?
Righto. Jim Dunlop to the rescue. You might know this one. You can start then, Nick.
Go on, I'm waiting for you, as ever.
Ooh.
Think of salad days, they were folly and fun, they were good, they were young.
It's a 12 bar, folks.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Cerveza.